Hey guys, this is Crimson, and Soul lives in Kentucky, so I doubt that he's probably going to be here. I'm going to do a vlog and a top 10 list at the same time. So I guess we should get started on that. Number 10 is Left 4 Dead. It was one of the best games of its time because of all the things that you were able to do in it. It was also one of the best co-op games of its time because in order for you to be good at the game, you needed to band up with other survivors and work together. Each of the special infected were designed so that sticking together was a necessity. I'm gonna say all of these. One of them, the boomer, basically what it does is it pretty much pukes bile all over you and it blinds you for a few minutes while attracting the hordes toward you. If you shoot it and it explodes, and if you're not in a decent distance away from it, then it will do the same effect. Unless you have survivors near you, getting out of there will be a pain because you can't see. If you have computer player survivors, this usually isn't a problem unless it's on expert. The hunter is pretty much a more or less close range attacker because basically what it does is it pounces on you, and depending on which angle it's at, it can get pretty far away. But if you're too far away from the other survivors, it becomes a problem because there's no way to get up after he's pounced on you unless a survivor helps. The smoker is pretty much the same deal, except he can pretty much just shoot his tongue at you from like a building top, so it's difficult to shoot him. So Left 4 Dead 2, or Left 4 Dead 2 has more enemies and such, but the survivors in that game don't really get along, and I think that the first game was pretty much a one-hit wonder with that. The second game has more weapons and guns, and it also introduces melee weapons, but pretty much what they did was, because Left 4 Dead 1 was such a success, they released a DLC so that you could play the levels from this game on the second game. Number 2, Assassin's Creed 3. The reason that I like Assassin's Creed 3 over some of the other games is not because of the campaign, but because of the multiplayer. In the multiplayer, they pretty much introduced a couple new game modes, and obviously characters. In some of the new game modes, it's not really over a matter of assassinating each other all the time. They released a new game mode called Wolfpack, which basically you're assassinating NPCs. But if you don't do it in the amount of time that you need to, then you fail the mission. This comes in handy with me because I do not like fighting against people on a game like that, because, well, obviously everybody's going to be better than me because they don't do anything but play the game. I don't play this as often as some people because it's mostly fun when I have another person to play it with, just like most of my games. Assassin's Creed 3 single player is fun and it's pretty long, and the graphics are cool and all that, and the climbing and abilities are much smoother. But the problem is that I do not like the personality of the main character, Connor. He's really arrogant and he likes to do things the quick and easy way. And so that's number 9. 8. Halo ODST. This was the first game for my Xbox 360, but I had played Halo 3 over my friend's house before that. However, Halo 3 ODST I love because not only does it introduce Firefight, but even though that it doesn't have any multiplayer, it's an extremely good campaign and co-op game. The Firefight in this allows you to basically, if you've played Halo Reach, it's pretty much the same deal. The only difference is you can't change any of the options in it, really. The characters that you can play as are unlocked through playing the game. Each of the characters, pretty much except for obviously the rookie, which is the default character that you play as, can take their helmets off to be used in Firefight without their helmets. The campaign's music is probably the best Halo music so far that I've played. And I admit that the first and the second game's music were pretty good, but the way that each of the songs in this were composed was pretty much drums and guitars, and we're all fitted to the level that you're playing as. The night levels, people often complain that it's just running around in circles trying to figure out what to do. But the truth is that if you press one of the D-pad buttons, it gives you a hint in the direction that you're supposed to be going. So you can't really say that very much unless you don't know how to press the D-pad. Number 6. The thing with this game is that not only does it have the very addictive single-player campaign that was pretty much a hit in the first game, but it also has a co-op campaign which allows you to play with a friend and complete puzzles. Each of these puzzles are complex, and this game is simply brain-bending, and it took me about 4 months to complete it because I couldn't figure out what to do. That's a long time for me because I'm really good at completing campaigns. I've played this with a bunch of people, and it's just really fun because you're working together with a friend to complete puzzles which are similar to the ones in the single player. You play as 2 robots, Atlas, which is the round one down here, and Peabody, which is the potato-shaped guy right here. Each of them shoots different colored portals. In the past, I've had fights with my friends over which person they want to play as. I'm usually Atlas. This game was also made by Valve, which is the same one who made the Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2. Valve is probably my favorite game producer because they've created Team Fortress 2 and Portal and the Left 4 Dead series and Half-Life. All of these games were major hits, and especially Team Fortress 2, because in case you haven't played that, there's a billion people playing at the same time. So that's Portal 2, which is number 6. 5. Mass Effect 3. As you can see, this game has 2 discs. The other disc is currently in my Xbox because I was just playing it. However, one of these discs doesn't work. For some reason, I don't know why. But the campaign is really long, and it's adaptive just like the rest of the series. What happens in it is pretty much the conclusion to what happens in the rest of the series, because obviously if you've played Mass Effect 1 and 2, you're pretty much leading up to the point where you have to fight against the Reapers, which is a machine race, which are gigantic. They remind me of squids or crabs or something, and they shoot huge laser beams, and and the sounds that they make remind me of the tripod from War of the Worlds. Or if that's the movie that I'm remembering. You're playing as Commander Shepard, which was pretty much relieved from duty because he or she, because you can play as either gender, was working with Cerberus at one point, so the Alliance didn't trust him or her. The thing that I really love about this series is that if you have all of the games, each choice that you make in the first and second game have to do with the third game. However, the only way this is possible, for any game just about, is to be able to access the saves that you pretty much have. So in the first game, if you've completed it, then if you have the second game, you can import your save there, have your character, have all the stuff that you, all the choices that you've made, and there's lots of different ways to play this game. They're basically split into 2 types of categories, Paragon and Renegade. Paragon is basically being the good guy and being a really nice guy and polite, and Renegade is being, you know, the cold-blooded killer type guy. I can never bring myself to be Renegade because that's not the person that I am, and I really can't make mean choices. Doesn't matter exactly what to do. But you can play this campaign a billion different times and it won't be the same. Alright. Number 4, Dead Space 3. I love this game because this is the only game that I've played for the past couple of years that's actually scared the crap out of me. Since I've turned, I think it was 13, I haven't really been afraid of anything, zombie games. Played Amnesia, played Slender, played all sorts of games like that. Slender was pretty creepy, and it was pretty much a jump scary game, but it didn't really creep me out or scare me really. Dead Space 3 I love because I've seen walkthroughs of the first and second game, and I played the first game over a friend's house one time. But this game allows you to play in a co-op mode. The good thing about that is because I usually only buy games for multiplayer, because I like playing either co-op campaign or a multiplayer game that doesn't involve matchmaking, like Halo, but even still, I don't like Halo matchmaking. Dead Space 3 gives you a bunch of suits, and basically what you do is you are picked up by Carver, which is your partner in the game if you have a friend to play with, and Robert Norton, which was a thorn in your side throughout the entire game. So basically what you had to do was you had to go look for your ex-girlfriend Ellie in space, right next to a planet which is pretty much full of markers. And then after you get a shuttle, you go down to the planet, and then the rest of the campaign is full of shenanigans on the planet that usually involve you almost dying. What I liked about this game was the modes that it gave you. The hardcore mode on this one is harder than the second game's hardcore mode because you can save as many times as you want, but if you die once, then you have to start from the beginning of the entire campaign. So let's say you're on chapter 14 and you die, you have to start from the prologue. And I haven't completed that yet, but then there's classic mode and pure survival mode, and obviously a new game plus, which is really good because it's kind of a pain to start over with none of your weapons. So pure survival mode makes it so that the only things that you pick up from enemies are things like scrap metal and supplies, but they don't drop med kits or stasis packs or ammo. You have to make them from scratch. Classic mode is basically you have to use simply classic weapons. And this mode unlocks the devil horns, which is probably my favorite weapon ever, because basically you have a foam finger, and you can either make it do this, or you can make it do this, and it goes bang, and it pretty much instant kills everything. And my friend, Soul usually refers to it as the heavy hand, in case any of you have seen KD0706's videos. So Dead Space 3 is a really good game, and the suits in this game are really amazing, and just the overall game feel is just brilliant.